Excited for that. Let's see. Okay, and dang it, I so much stuff up here that I've had to hide. Okay. Interesting. It's not light blinking. What does that do? Oh, yeah, let's not do that. Where's my share button now? Okay, fine. All right, we can do that. Hi, what's up, Miranda? Can you hear me okay? Just making sure. Hold on, let me see. Okay. There you are. I was like, I made sure to send the link. Because I know that several people had issues the last time. So I was like, I got to put the link on the Discord. So I made it a little easier for everyone. Hello. Yes. That was one of my biggest. I don't know why it seems so dark in here. That light is not very good. I need to have. I thought I had a lamp in here somewhere, but I guess I don't. I didn't realize how bad that light was. Hey, that's okay. That is okay. I'll have to remember that. She was getting restless sitting on my lap. You see her right there. She was getting restless on my lap. So I was like, okay, I know what that means. That means that she needs to go lay down. So she ended up going to bed. And then I just wanted to hold her for a minute. So I'm a little late, but it's okay. Miranda, I have no idea. Camaro's probably going to be a little late because it's Tuesday, and I know that her boys are at lacrosse practice. So Camaro's probably going to be a little late. Whether or not Becca comes, I don't know. She's in the Discord though, right? Becca's in the Discord? I mean, she should be. Oh, that was Christy Jorgensen. Sorry. Every single time I read the comments, they disappear by the time I can see who's. I have to scroll on it. Ooh. So anyway, I know that I did. Oh, I did. I had to make sure that I got there and back, so I was here on time for this, and made sure that Aria got her food so that she could relax with a full tummy. So, oh yes, that's so good. I always forget too that they can see her through the drive-through because she sits in the passenger seat in her little enclosure. So sometimes they'll look right through, and I kind of get this face where it's like, oh, and I'm just like, what the hell are you looking at? And then I realize they can see her, and I'm all like, every time I forget they can see her in there. But then, of course, she had to start yelling at the lady when she handed me my food too, where she was like, "Don't touch my mom." I was like, "All right, you're fine." But hey, you know what? I think it's cute. It's only cute sometimes, though, not every time. But I will say this much. So, Christy Jorgensen, I know that you. Ugh, I know that you will enjoy this. That's the next one. Okay. So, this is the first one that I read. The first chapter in this one is going to basically be elaborated in this one. So it's like a short, I think chapter 1 is just a short little snippet where it basically talks about how the girl was abandoned by her mother. And it goes on to where they're having dinner. But the thing is, though, is that you talk about the fact that she was abandoned. Well, this one, she's abandoned, and you get to hear the entire thing. This has it spread out throughout the entire book. It's very, very. I don't think that any of the bad parts are in the first, like, what is it, 7 chapters? Yeah, it's only 7 chapters tonight. I don't think any of the creepy parts are in the first 7 chapters. I think it waits. Oh. Yeah, the first 7 chapters those are going to be a lot. Ooh, okay. That's going to be a lot. But it's not as creepy. That gets a little further in. Oh man, I forgot about that. Ooh. Yes. Yes. Oh. I always okay, so I feel really bad. I feel really bad for what I wrote in this book because this little girl, because she's 6. So in this book, she's 6, but she does grow up in, I think, like up till the age of 15 or something like that, right? And I watched a lot of true crime videos of what happens to children in the foster care system. So a lot of these are actual stories that happened to children in the foster care system. And I think that's what gets me a little bit is because I know that it really friggin' happened to some kid somewhere. It was a lot. The research on this was 3 months of I'd watch videos for 2 weeks and then take an entire week off, and all I was watching was silly compilation videos. I had to take an entire week off from doing any kind of research, no writing, no nothing, because it's that bad. But I want to make sure that you understand how she grew as a person and kind of, you know, you know what I mean. Exactly. This shit happens it's so upsetting to know that this shit happens. But you kind of see how, because, like kids, especially being at 6 years old, you have to think of the fact that she knew who her mother was, and her mom was just like, okay, I'm done with you. So, and when I read, I think it was this one. So when I read this one, her mother comes back and all of a sudden wants to be in her life. And she's sitting there thinking, the fuck do I want to have anything to do with you for? You just left me. So she remembers her mother because she was 6 years old. I mean, who the hell doesn't remember things from sex, right? Especially when they're traumatic like that. So I have read these two. So now you get to see what it's like for her growing up, and you get to find out why she has so much anger and angst towards her mother in any way. And then you get to see, how she grew as a person and how she became the strength that she has throughout the rest of them. This is the last one. This one's going to blow your mind, Christy Jorgensen. That's all I have to say. I mean, I know that it kind of happened in this one because a lot of shit was revealed, but then more gets revealed in this one. Like, what? Yeah, so it's great. It's great. I will say, when I finished writing this series, I was like, "Aw, my friends are gone now." I was like, I knew these characters. Yes. Oh, and this one has actually been read here on YouTube. So this one is actually all on here. It'll tell you which chapters that I'm reading in this book. This one was done. We did the first day on Rainbow, but we ended up finishing it on Discord because I couldn't get good service. The whole thing was just a mess. So we finished it on Discord, so there aren't any recordings of it. But the second one there is. And that's all here. It all gets published here. Like for this one, the first, like today, will be published early morning on Friday. And then tomorrow will be published late morning on Friday. And then this one is early afternoon on Friday. Because I think it's like, no, it's 10, 12, and 2 is when they get. Oh, yay. Oh, yeah. And then I've got. Exactly. I do have them in box sets. So this one here is for this series that I'm reading right now. You get all of the books in the box set. So that's that. And then, of course, my other books. My cult series. My cult series I have 2 different box sets for. And the reason why I have 2 box sets is because this one here comes with the. This one just comes with their Bible and then the first book. So it's basically like one of those little starter packs where it's like, do I really want to read the whole thing? Otherwise, you can get the full set, and that comes with the beginner set that has the Disciples' Doctrine and the first book, and then the other 3 books too. But they're all also sold separately as well. And then, of course, I have the cult series. No, my cult series is great. It's a little gory and crazy, but it's great. And then I have all my single titles. This one is going to be the first one that's going to go to audiobook. This will be the first one. Only because of the fact that this was like basically my first book. So this guy taxidermies his victims and lives with them in his house. This one I read on Rainbow last year in July. So this one's already been read, but this will be the first one to go to audiobook. And then this book. This one is my favorite. It's awesome. And I love it. The first chapter gets you into it where it's like, oh, wait a minute. I need to read this whole thing. So this one is, this one's my favorite so far. This is my newest. Well, sort of. I know. I don't know how to turn it around. Okay, well, that's not it. Yes, I know. Oh, I know. I want to do that so bad. I don't know how to turn it around. That does nothing. None of those things do anything. Wait. I know, right, Christy Jurgensen? But this one's from September. So this one is sort of my newest one, but then I have the next one coming in soon. I'm excited. So I should have Citizen's Assassin soon. That one releases on Friday. Very excited. But that's why I'm reading all of these books right now, is because I've got a new one coming out. So I have to make sure that I have some kind of, hey, guess what I got, kind of thing. All right, let's see. See, what I want to do, I know, right? What I'd like to do is I want to get this thing off of my desk. I don't want this here. I never wanted this to begin with. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, why not? But no, I don't want the hutch. I just want the desk, because I want to be able to put the desk like in the middle of the room and look straight out. And I want the corner to be behind me with bookshelves and stuff like that. So I want it kind of like, let me show you. So like, imagine this window. If I had my desk like on this side of the window that came out of the wall, so the window's right next to me, and then behind me is this corner with bookshelves right here. That's what I imagine. That. But yeah. But I was talked into getting a desk with a hutch because it was on clearance, and the desks that I wanted would have to be ordered, and it was like 6 months, 3 to 6 months or something like that before I could have it, because they're Amish made. So every one of them is handmade to order type of thing. Ooh. So anyway, that's why I got the one with the hutch. It's there, whatever. It's fine. So I'm thinking about taking it down and turning it into something else, like turn the hutch into something else. So it's exactly right. I mean, business. I mean, I still kind of need it, only because of the fact that I do have like these little organizer things. I have them for like, all of this would be full and all of that would be full. But because most of it's packed up right now, none of it's full. Which, the only thing that's not packed up is the stuff that I need to do this, because this is all of my writing stuff. If I would have packed all this stuff up, it would have been packed up last September, October, and then I would have been sitting here waiting to do anything at all. So anyway, what time is it? All right, it's almost 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, Miranda, I am reading chapters 1 through 7. So I'm only going to chapter 7 tonight. Oh, wait, you know what? I need to get my water. That is one thing I do need to do. Amy's 2 hours behind. So for her, it's probably dinner time. Yeah, she's in California. So it's probably dinner time for her. She's probably having dinner with the kids or making dinner or something like that. Oh, that's usually what happens. She ends up popping in at some point. I think she's my only mod, but I don't usually get too many people in here that I actually need any mods for. But one thing that I really want is like a little corner that has a curtain that goes over it, and it's just got these bookshelves for all of my TBRs. These are all of the books that are on my TBR right now. Just cover it all up so I can close the curtain and I can just sit inside this little corner. Kind of want to do that too. Be all alone. Nobody can see me in here. Okay. Now, the narration is like her as an adult kind of telling the story of what happens. So it's not coming from like a 6-year-old child. All right. Chapter 1. I was born to a single mother. She always treated me as though I was a burden on her. I wasn't even sure if she ever actually loved me. For as long as I could remember, she would drop me off at the neighbor's house first thing in the morning and leave me there until well after dinner. I began calling the neighbor Auntie May around the time that I was 2. Some days I wasn't even dressed yet when my mother would take me over there. Auntie May would just dress me in one of the outfits that no longer fit each of her girls, Diamond and Jade. Every year on my birthday, my mother would rush me out of the house as soon as I woke up and insist I go next door. Life was normal. Well, normal for me, up until I was 6. On my 6th birthday, my mother came rushing into my room and pulled my blanket off the bed. I was startled awake and sat up, disoriented. "Get out now," she yelled. As soon as I realized what was going on, I jumped up out of the bed and ran out the front door, headed to Auntie May's house. I reached the front door and lifted my hand to press the button for the doorbell when the door swung open. Auntie May, along with Diamond and Jade, stood on the other side with a homemade cupcake in her hand. There was a number 6 candle on top already lit up. "Happy birthday!" the 3 of them said emphatically. I was startled, but I still laughed. "Make a wish and blow out your candle," Auntie May told me. Every year I would wish for the same thing, for my mother to spend a day with me. I closed my eyes, made the wish, and blew out the candle. A couple of months after my birthday, I thought my wish had finally come true. The day started pretty normal. I woke up, washed my hands and face, along with brushing my teeth before getting dressed to head over to Auntie May's house. Trying to be as quiet as possible so as not to disturb my mother, I headed out to the living room. Reaching the front door, I sat down in the foyer in order to put my shoes on. "You want to do something fun today?" my mother asked me after I had my shoes tied. "Sure," I said, unsure of what she meant. "Go brush your hair and meet me back here so we can go." "Where are we going?" "It's a surprise." "Now go," she said. I smiled my biggest smile at her and nodded emphatically. Being so excited that she wanted to spend time with me, I ran off to brush my hair, then hurried back out to the living room. When I saw my mother waiting for me by the front door, I felt as though my birthday wish had finally come true. She grabbed my hand and led me out to the car. "Good morning, Kinsey." "Beck, where are you headed off today?" May asked as she sat on her front porch. "I just thought I would spend the day with my daughter," my mother told her as she loaded me into the car. "Have fun," May said, waving at me with a worried smile on her face. I waved back and touched my shoulders, then poked my cheeks. flashing her our secret hand signal to let her know I was happy, and she did the same back. May had come up with the secret hand signals for us so she would know how I was feeling. She said it was a way for me to understand and express my feelings, even if I didn't want to or couldn't talk about it. I watched my mother peer at me through the rearview mirror with a look on her face that looked as though she was trying to figure out where to take me. I didn't know what she had planned, but I was just imagining we were going on a vacation for the day. She pulled up to a building with probably 20 floors and parked the car. After she climbed out of the front seat, she closed her door and leaned against it, smoking a cigarette. My mother looked around the parking lot, seeming nervous, before she flicked the cigarette as far as she could and opened the back door in order to help me out of the car. "What are we doing here?" I asked her as she led me inside the building and over to the elevator. Without saying a word, she pressed the call button to go up, and we waited for the doors to open. When the tone sounded to signal it had arrived, we both stepped in. My mother kept her hand against the open doors in order to make sure they didn't close. Tears formed in my eyes as she reached up and pressed the button for the top floor. Without a single word, she stepped out of the elevator. As the elevator doors closed, separating us, she just stood there, motionless, glaring at me. I thought to myself, maybe she's playing hide and seek. I bet I'm supposed to find her when the elevator gets back to the bottom. As the elevator approached the top floor, I pressed my back against the far wall as the doors opened. At the top, a gentleman entered the elevator and looked down at me as he pressed the button for the lobby. I slowly slid down into a sitting position, wedging myself into a corner. I pulled my knees up to my chest when the elevator started to move. He eventually spoke to me. "Are you lost?" he asked. "No, my mother and I are playing hide and seek. She sent me to the top to give her enough time to hide," I told him, no longer believing my own story, and tears began to form in my eyes. The man grunted as he rode the elevator down to the lobby. When the elevator arrived and the doors opened, the man turned back toward me, still huddled in the corner. He placed his hand over the doors in order to hold them open. "Good luck. I hope you find your mother," he said, helping me to my feet and holding the doors open, giving me the chance to exit the elevator first. I smiled at him and watched as he exited the building. I looked around the lobby and noticed a line of people at the front desk. I observed each person in line just to see if one of them happened to be my mother. She wasn't there. I stood in front of the closed elevator doors and noticed a seat no one was occupying. I looked under the tables and behind the chairs, knowing in the back of my mind I wasn't really going to find her. I wandered over to the side table between two oversized armchairs, climbed under the table, and there I waited, hoping my mother would find me. It felt like hours before a woman with shoulder length blonde hair, wearing a dress jacket and a pen on name tag that read Lori, came over to talk to me. "Hey there, are you lost?" she asked. I nodded, acknowledging her, but I didn't speak. She nodded back and extended her hand to help me come out from under the table. "What's going on?" she asked, helping me up into one of the large armchairs. "My mommy brought me here to play hide and seek," I told her. "Hide and seek, huh? Is she supposed to look for you, or are you supposed to look for her?" "I'm supposed to look for her, but I'm scared. I don't want to look alone. When I play at Auntie May's house, Jade hides with me, or Auntie May helps me find Jade and Diamond," I told her. "And who are they?" "They live next door. I usually spend all day with them. But today, Mommy said we were going to do something fun, and she brought me here. But I'm not having any fun." "Well, my name is Lori. How about you sit here and wait to see if your mommy finds you? I'm just going to I'm just going to be right over at that desk. If you need anything, just wave and I'll come over, okay?" she said, pointing at the front desk where she was standing when I came out of the elevator. I nodded and she patted me on the knee before heading back over to the big desk by the front doors. I watched her as she picked up the phone and called someone. She talked for a few moments, then hung up. I stared at my shoes, waiting, hoping my mother would come out from wherever she was hiding and find me. I sat in the chair with my legs dangling, crying to myself. A couple of times, someone came over and asked if I was okay. The first time, I pulled my legs up into the chair with me and laid against the back, ignoring the lady. The second time, I turned my face to the back of the chair and grunted. When she walked away, I looked up and saw a policewoman enter the building. The officer stepped up to the counter and spoke to Lori. I watched as they conversed for a few moments. Then Lori pointed at me. I thought I was in trouble, so I climbed back under the table and hid. While I was there, the policewoman came over and sat down in one of the oversized chairs. At first, she didn't speak. She just sat there quietly. Then all of a sudden, she spoke. "You're not in trouble. I just want to talk," she said. I poked my head out and she assisted me into the other oversized armchair that I had occupied before. "So I hear you're playing hide and seek with your mommy," she said. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. "Do you know what your mommy's name is?" "No, ma'am, but Auntie May calls her Beck." "Well, what's your name?" "I'm Mackenzie, but Auntie May calls me Kenzie," I told her. "Who's Auntie May?" she asked. "She lives next door." "Okay. Do you know where you live?" "In a house." "Do you know a phone number I could call to talk to your mommy?" "I know 911. That's only for emergencies, like if someone is hurt or there's a fire or a bad man is trying to come into the house." "That's right. 911 is only for emergencies. Do you know how to contact your mommy?" she continued to question me. "No, but Auntie May does," I told her. "Do you know a phone number to contact Auntie May?" "Nope. The only phone number I know is 911. I'm 6. "Okay, Mackenzie. What is your last name?" "I only have one name, Mackenzie. That's the last name I was called. I don't remember having any other names," I told her. "All right, you stay here and I'll be right back," the officer told me before walking back over to the counter to talk to Lori again. A few moments later, after a few moments, she talked into her radio that was clipped to her shoulder, then headed back over to where I was sitting. "Okay, Mackenzie, I'm Officer Lee, and I'm going to need you to come with me," she said in an official police tone. "Am I in trouble?" she asked as I started to cry. "No, sweetie, you're not in trouble. I just need you to come with me so we can try to find your mommy." I wiped the tears off my face and sniffed hard to pull the mucus back up my nose. I used the bottom of my shirt to clean my face, then walked with Officer Lee out to her cop car. "Bye, Lori," I said as we walked out the door. "Bye bye," she said, waving. Officer Lee placed me in the back seat of her patrol car and drove me to the police station. She asked me questions while I was wondering what happened to my mother. "Do you know why your mommy would leave you there at the hotel without supervision?" she asked. "I don't know. She normally takes me to Auntie May's house. I just thought my birthday wish had finally come true," I told the officer. "What was your birthday wish?" "I closed my eyes, wished my mommy would spend just one day with me, then blow out the candle." "That sounds like a great birthday wish," Officer Lee said as she pulled into the police station parking lot. I watched through the car window, noticing a group of uniformed officers standing around outside. At 6 years old, I was terrified that I was in trouble. I cried quietly as I thought I was going to jail for being out somewhere alone. Officer Lee parked her vehicle at the curb in front of the police station and got out. I watched as she talked to a few other officers and pointed at me. Every one of them turned and looked at me, crying in the back seat, watching them through the window. I looked down at my hands and tried to figure out what had changed. I didn't understand why this day was different than any other day. I was trying to understand why my mother didn't just let me go with Auntie May. I wanted to play with Jaden Diamond. I just wanted to go home. I had closed my eyes and imagined what I would have been doing if I had made if I had made it to Auntie May's house. When the car door swung open, interrupting my thought, I opened my eyes and noticed a male officer standing outside, waiting for me to exit the vehicle. Come on, get out of the car, he said to me, presenting his hand to me. I recoiled back into the car away from him and pressed my back against the closed door on the other side of the car. I wasn't going to get out until I saw Officer Lee, but he reached in, grabbed my leg, and tried to pull me out when I refused to get out on my own. Let me go! No! Don't touch me! I screamed at him, kicking my legs to get free as he continued to pull on me to get me out of the car. It's okay, Bailey. I got this, I heard Officer Lee say, getting between the male officer and me. Once he let go and walked away, I stopped screaming. Officer Lee peeked into the car at me and smiled. Don't worry, Mackenzie. I won't let anyone hurt you, Lee told me. She helped me out of the car, and I wrapped my arms around her leg. She started to walk, but with me adding an extra appendage, she was having difficulty. She reached down and lifted me into her arms, carrying me into the station. She placed me down at her feet when she checked in at the front desk. I huddled around her legs and waited for her to finish. She took my hand and led me through the inner doors. As we walked past about a dozen desks, the ones without anyone sitting in the chairs, just had papers laid out on top, but the ones with officers occupying them were cleared and organized. I figured it was just to give the impression that the slackers outside were busy working, when in actuality, they were just taking a break. Officer Lee took me to a room that had a table and 3 chairs with a mirror on the wall. Wait here, I'll be right back, she told me. No, don't leave me, I said, beginning to cry loudly. I'm not leaving you. I just need to go make a phone call, she said, kneeling down in front of me. Can I come with you? I requested. Sure you can. Come on, she told me, standing and taking my hand. Officer Lee took me over to her workspace and placed me in the chair next to her desk. The chair was hard and dirty and smelled as though someone may have peed their pants while sitting there. She lifted the receiver of the phone up to her ear, then began pressing buttons to dial a phone number. She fiddled with the coiled cord while she waited for someone to answer. After a couple of moments, the officer swiveled in her chair so her back was facing me. I assumed she thought by doing that, I would be unable to hear her. Hello, my name is Officer Lee with the Destin County Police Department. I have a 6-year-old girl here that was abandoned at the Thomasina Hotel. She said her mother told her they were playing hide and seek. Then her mother just left her there. The front desk clerk at the hotel said she saw the 2 of them come in and walk over to the elevator. The mother placed the girl into the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. As soon as the doors closed, the mother bolted out of the hotel, leaving the child behind. The most information I could get from the child is that her name is Mackenzie. She lives in a house, and the next door neighbor is Auntie May, and her 2 children are Jade and Diamond. And she said the neighbor called her mother Beck. We could possibly check into Becky or Rebecca. She doesn't know a contact phone number for the neighbor nor her mother. I'm going to need someone to come get her so she has somewhere safe to go. She informed the person on the other end of the line. I guess she could stay with me for the night. I could bring her back here with me in the morning. Let me ask her and make sure she's comfortable with that, she said, pulling the phone away from her ear and turning back to face me. Would it be okay if you stayed with me for the night? I shrugged. I guess so. She nodded, finished with the phone call, then turned back to me. Looks like you will be coming home with me for the night, she told me after hanging up the phone. What about my mommy? I asked. I don't know, sweetie. We will try to find her, but until we do, you will have to go live with another family for a little while, she told me. But I get to stay with you for now? I asked. Well, just for tonight. Tomorrow, a lady is going to come get you and take you to a nice family to stay with. I just want to go home, I cried. I'm sorry, sweetie, but until we find your mommy, we have to find you a safe place to live. Look, let's go to my house and I'll get you settled in. I don't have any clothes or a toothbrush, I told her. We can buy you those things. Would you like to go shopping? She asked. Does my mommy have to pay you back? I asked. No, sweetie. It's my treat, okay? Okay, because my mommy can't afford new clothes for me. Auntie May usually gives me the old clothes that don't fit Jade and Diamond anymore, I told her. Have you ever had new clothes? She asked. I don't know. I only remember Auntie May bringing clothes over for me that she would tell my mother her kids grew out of. Well, I'm going to take you to get new clothes. How does that sound? Are you going to stay with me the whole time? I asked, worried I would be left behind again. I will be with you the whole time. I won't leave your side, she told me, taking my hand and leading me out to a different vehicle than her police car. Whose car is this? I asked her. This is my personal car. When I'm not working, I have my own car to drive around in. Do you also have other clothes that don't make you look like a police officer? I sure do. It's only because if I had to sleep with all this stuff on, I don't think I would be very comfortable, she said, and we both laughed. She placed me in the back seat, then climbed in behind the wheel. As she drove past the front doors of the station, where the other officers were still standing around, Officer Bailey waved at me, and I scowled at him. Whew. Hmm. Hmm. So far, so good. I may need coffee. When Aria starts to relax, I start feeling tired. I don't know why. But she's down. Yay! So far, it's tame. That's what my mother says. My mother says this is the tamest of all of my books. She's like, this one's good. You could do 13, 14 years old. I'd be afraid that I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. You can't stand me yawning, and I'll sit here and yawn almost the whole time. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go make me a small cup. In a cup that I cannot drink out of while Ari is awake. Yes. Oh, Kira. Oh, I need to clean the kitchen. Oh, speaking of which, Taco Bell. Miss Aria had her fun. Come on. If you're up, you have to go outside. Go. Come on, go. Go, go, go. She's like, I gotta stop and sniff everything. Ow. Hey, I need coffee. That's because you can't. I don't want to sit there and yawn almost the entire time. And I'm already hitting it. See? Ugh. I'm already starting to yawn. Of course, I gotta have my. Where is it? Oh. I need a copy, man. Oh, that's bugs. I was like, what in the heck? Okay, hold on. This was the only one that was in stock when I got the coffee at HEB because it's cheaper to do it in this big giant tin than do the small ones like I normally do. It sounds like rain, but it's not. There's just a ton of bugs. June bugs. There's June bugs everywhere. That's the small one. Oh my gosh. Look at these things. They're everywhere. She does not like the bugs touching her. So she's starting to get all freaked out. Hey. Kira. Kira. Hey. Come on. Trying to get her in before they sneak inside those bugs. Oof. Oh no. I know, right? See, that was my thing. I'd had a Keurig once before. But the problem that I had was the fact that I would buy those little pods and I'd go through like 8 cups of coffee because it's so easy. You just take it out, pop one in, you're good. I had too many cups of coffee throughout the day. I'm already wired as it is all the time. Come on. Make my coffee. I know you're heating up. There we go. Like, ooh. Oh, yeah. So, because I had the Keurig, I was like, let's not do that. Yeah. I think it's funny when she's standing out there. She's standing out there and like the bugs keep touching her. You can see her go like this. There's too many out here. Get away. That's why I'm like, okay, come on, get inside before the bugs get in. She's like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. See, okay, so yesterday I'm sitting right here. Her water bowl is right there. And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking right at her as she's getting water. She gets water, takes a couple of steps, squats and pees on the floor. I'm sitting right there. So her peeing on the floor has nothing to do with the fact that I'm not in the room. She was like, oh, that was nice water. Now let's get rid of it. I'm just like, I know. Oh, so this one is a Ninja. I have most of my appliances are Ninja. My air fryer / pressure cooker / slow cooker, it's a Ninja. Of course, my coffee maker is a Ninja. I had my last one for 8 years, and then it started smelling burnt. The coffee did. I'd be brewing coffee, and it would smell like it was burnt, and I'm going, I need a new one. I waited a whole nother year before I was just like, fine. So I had it for almost 10 years before I had to get a new coffee maker. See, and I should have done that too, where I should have just done the refills because that is too much for me. I can do it once a day. Doing it every time I want a coffee, no. My pants look huge. Well, they are, but like this shirt makes my pants look ginormous on me. Yes. I can't drink the coffee. Yes. I cannot drink coffee from this cup. I can't drink coffee from this cup with Aria because she wants the cup. It's a little cup. She wants it. Do not pee in my house. You just went outside. She wants my cup. Soda Stream? No. Mmm, coffee. Miranda. I don't know. I don't know if the. Oh. Oh, does it? Yeah, I can't do the Keurig thing. It's too easy for me to drink too much coffee during the day. My mom always thinks it's funny. She goes to the conventions with me, and I buy the triple shots. Well, there you go. I buy the triple shot from the gas station. um, so every time I drink those things, I'm always like, yeah, wired. Hold on. That just came in. Okay. Check live announcements. Link to YouTube Live. Okay, that's Amy. I know, right? I always act like Kira's gonna listen to me. Kira's not gonna listen to me. She's probably gonna pee on the floor. Okay. All right. Let's go. Amy should be here soon. Ooh, and that is hot. Look at how cute this cup is. Ethan and Hayden got this for me. My son and my daughter-in-law. Now, Aria, the first time I tried to drink out of this, Aria decided it was her cup and she would not let go. So the entire time I was drinking my coffee like this, with Aria's hands wrapped around the cup. I was like, girl, will you please let go of the cup? Nope, she did not want to. That's glass. All my other cups, stainless steel. All right. Chapter 2. Okay. There's Amy. Addicted to bubbly water. Oh my goodness. I don't know. See, and Amy, that's the reason why I always share it on the Discord to show that I'm live. So the link is at least there. I don't know why it doesn't show that I'm live. I don't even know how that works. I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea how it works. Sometimes I get the live notifications for people and sometimes I don't. I can only assume because I know that by like Thursday, the notifications are going out and I'll have more viewers in here. But because I don't go live very often, it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden, Tuesday or by Wednesday, it's like, oh, so sends it to a few. And then on Thursday, it's like everybody gets it. And by the time I've logged on, I've got over 100 people that'll automatically start dropping out. So, yeah. It's crazy. So who were y'all watching live, Miranda? Who were y'all watching? Yeah. I said that y'all were in somebody's live. I know. It's my kitchen. My kitchen is bees. So I have a cup that goes with it. I love it. Cloud 9. She's gonna do it from afar. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so now we're gonna get in on this. Chapter 2. Oh, hold on. Chapter 2. So what kind of stores has your mommy taken you to? She asked me as she drove down the street. My mommy has never taken me out before. I was surprised when she decided to take me with her this morning. Normally, I go to Auntie May's house, I told her. Even on the weekend? What's the weekend? You mean like the end of the week? Weeks are broken up into weekdays, which is Monday through Friday, and weekends, which is Saturday and Sunday. I go to Auntie May's house every day. My week isn't broken up, I told her, looking at my hands. Don't you go to school? Lee asked. Nope. My mommy brings home workbooks that Auntie May does with me. I don't go anywhere. What do you learn about? Auntie May taught me to read and write the alphabet. Math is hard, but I know the easy stuff. Do you know where your daddy is? I don't even know who he is, but I do know that if anyone talks about him, my mommy gets really mad, I said, as Officer Lee turned the car into a parking space. After she stepped out of the car, Lee opened the back door behind the driver's side of the car and assisted me out. I held her hand all the way to the doors of the store, and we walked through the makeup and perfume area toward the back of the store. What's your favorite color? She asked when we entered the clothing area. Green, I told her. Green, great. She began grabbing shirts and holding them up to my shoulders. Why do you do that? I'm making sure they will fit. I don't want to buy you something that won't fit, she said, draping several over her arm, then stepping over to the pants. She grabbed a couple of pairs of pants and held them up to my waist before draping them over her arm with the shirts. After a few moments, we headed over to the hallway with several small rooms. Go in and try these pants on to make sure they fit, she told me. Will you come in with me? I asked. Of course I will. Pick a room. I walked down the hall past several closed doors and peeked into the rooms with open doors before choosing a large room that would be comfortable for the both of us. The room had 2 large mirrors and a plastic bench seat in one corner. Lee closed the door and sat down on the bench in the room. Try these first, she said, handing me one of the pairs of pants and placing the other clothing on the bench next to her. Officer Lee turned toward the door where she could not see me as I tried them on. I removed the pants I had on and changed into the new pair. Okay, I'm done, I told her once I was redressed, so she knew it was safe to turn around. Good. Let's make sure these fit properly, she said, standing up and stepping in front of the mirror. The first thing she did was mess around with the waistband for a little while. She was pulling and shifting the pants around my waist. Okay, sweetie, those seem good. You even have a little room to grow into them. Are they comfortable? She asked. I guess, I told her, not knowing how to respond. I've never been asked if my clothes were comfortable before. Well, how about you change back into the pants you had on before and we can get you some shoes? What's wrong with my shoes? I just got these before my birthday, I said, looking down at my well-worn sneakers. Well, there is a hole in the side of them between the canvas and the rubber sole. I'm sure you would benefit from a pair of shoes that protected your socks from getting wet when it rains, she told me. I don't have socks. My mommy says that socks are for people who actually wear shoes for longer than a couple of minutes each day. How about we get you some socks as well? It will protect your feet inside your shoes, and I'm sure you will be in your shoes for longer than a couple of minutes each day from now on. I guess so, I told her, looking down at my feet as tears formed in my eyes. What's wrong, sweetie? Lee asked, watching me in the mirror that hung on the wall. I just hope that when you find my mommy, she isn't mad at me because you bought me new stuff, I said, wiping my face with the bottom of my shirt. Don't worry. I will take all the blame and make sure that all her anger is taken out on me. Now change back so we can get you those new shoes. Lee turned on the bench so she was facing the door again and not watching me change as I removed the new pants. I left them in a wad on the floor as I picked up the pants I was wearing before and pulled them back on. I tapped Lee on the shoulder once I was ready. She picked up the pile of clothing from the seat and the pants off the floor, leading me through the changing area and out of the hallway. How about some pajamas? You're going to need something to sleep in. Now that I'm sure of your size, we can just pick them up and head to the checkout before going to the shoe store, Lee said. I just shrugged as I followed behind her to an area with night clothes. She reached up to a rack and pulled down a pant set with a shirt that had ruffles on the sleeves and it was covered in green unicorns. What do you think about what do you think of this? She asked. I've never been asked what I think about clothes before. I like it because it's green, I said. Oh, good. Well, I'm going to get you several different ones. She draped the green unicorns over her arm with the rest of the clothes and took down a couple of the other colored unicorn pajama sets from the same rack. One was purple, the other was pink. Before we headed to the checkout, I pointed to the blue pajama set, and Officer Lee reached up and brought that one down as well. I grabbed her free hand and walked with Officer Lee up to the front of the store where the cashiers were. She placed several clothing items down on the counter, and we waited for the cashier to scan each price tag. After paying for the clothes, we headed back out to the car, and the officer drove me to the shoe store. Okay, do you have a favorite type of shoe, or would you like to try on a few pairs and see what feels best? Lee asked. I don't know. I usually get someone's leftover shoes that don't fit, I told her. Officer Lee reached down and placed her thumb into the toe of my shoe. She pressed down on my big toe, which was smashed up against the edge of the shoe. These shoes are too small for your feet. They make my toes hurt. Doesn't Auntie May give you the shoes that don't fit her kids anymore? Nope. She only gives me clothes. The shoes come from someone else. They give them to my mommy, and my mommy brings them home. Auntie May says Diamond and Jade wear out their shoes faster than they grow out of them. Okay, well then. Let's find your correct size. Then we can find something you might like. Lee retrieved a metal foot scale from under a plastic bench at the end of one of the shoe aisles. I sat down on the bench and lifted up my foot. Lee took off my shoe and placed my bare foot onto the scale. My heel rested back against the curved metal piece on the edge as she slid the side measure against the part of my foot that curved up and slid the top measure against my toe. I didn't know what she was looking at, but she seemed confident in knowing my correct shoe size. Okay, check out the displays and find a few styles that you like, and you can try on shoes that actually fit, Lee said. I walked around and looked at several different types of shoes. After I made my selections, Lee grabbed the boxes with my size printed on the outside, and I sat down on the same bench where Lee had measured my foot. First, we need to get a pair of single-use socks, Lee said, reaching into a large bin with what looked like the feet cut off of pantyhose. I took off the shoes I had on as she pulled out 2 single-use socks from the bin, then placed them on my feet. I tried on several pairs of shoes I had chosen before I decided on the ones I liked. She placed the shoes I declined back on the shelves and pulled 2 packs of socks off a hook on the end of the rows of shoes. Lee paid for the footwear, and we headed to her house. Lee pulled into the driveway in front of a simple single-story home. After she exited the vehicle, she opened the back door behind the driver's side and assisted me out of the car. She reached back into the car and retrieved the shopping bags. Once we were inside her home, Officer Lee dumped the shopping bags out onto the floor in front of her sofa. The front door opened into her living room, and the kitchen was directly behind the living room. To the right of the door was a hallway that led to the bedrooms. After taking in my surroundings, I took off my shoes at the front door, then joined the officer on the floor around the pile of clothing. She picked up each item and took the tags off. I think this shirt is my favorite, Lee said, holding up a light pink t-shirt with the words "I'm special" printed on the front. I nodded, not really knowing what to say. After she neatly folded the clothing into a pile on the floor, she went to her front hall closet and retrieved a green bag to put my new clothes in. Come with me. I'll show you the room where you will be staying for the night, she told me, extending her hand to me. She picked up the bag, packed with the new merchandise, and slung it over her shoulder. Then took me down a hallway that led to a bedroom. The room was plain with white walls, a white bed frame with black sheets on the bed that was all. There was nothing else in that room. This is my guest room. You can stay here for the night, and tomorrow we will find you a more permanent home, she told me. I have a home. You just have to find my mommy, I told her. We will try, I promise. But until we do, we have to find you somewhere to stay. I told you that, remember? She told me, placing the bag down on the floor at the foot of the bed. Why can't I stay with you? The law has these steps we have to follow when it comes to children. There are special places for lost children to go until we find them a home. Unfortunately, my home is not one of those special places because of my job. I thought the police would have the most specialist homes because they are supposed to protect people. Well, the government doesn't see it that way. They think that my job is dangerous and it's not safe for a child, she said, then mumbled under her breath. Unless somehow miraculously I were to conceive a child of my own. But of course that would mean I would need a man in my life. I don't need a man. I can take care of myself. I just stared at her. She looked down at me before kneeling down to be eye to eye with me. I'm sorry, sweetie. You don't need to hear about my problems. Let's go out to the kitchen and I'll make you something to eat, she said. We went to her kitchen and she pulled up a chair to the counter for me to stand on so I could help her. She cut up vegetables and I put them into a pot on the stove. Then she cut up some chicken into bite-sized pieces and she pushed the pieces off the cutting board into the pot with a knife. When she was done, she moved me off the chair. I added some chicken stock and turned on the stove. Stay back while it's cooking because it's hot, okay? She told me. She stirred the ingredients for a moment, then led me into the living room. We sat down on her sofa and she turned on the television. Do you have a favorite show you'd like to watch? Officer Lee asked. My mommy says TV makes kids stupid and Auntie May didn't have a TV. I always played games or read books at her house, I told her. What did you do at home? Lee asked, furrowing her brow. Sleep, I said, shrugging, staring down at my bare feet. Is that all your mommy let you do? Well, she would wake me up in the morning and take me to Auntie May's house. By the time she picked me up to go home, it was bedtime. So you didn't spend very much time at home? Nope. Most of my time was spent with Auntie May. Will I ever see her again? I asked, with tears in my eyes. Your mommy or Auntie May? I asked. Auntie May, of course. My mommy doesn't love me. Why do you think that? She never said it to me, ever. Auntie May made sure to tell me every day she loved me before I left her house. My mommy left me at that building because she didn't want me anymore. But Auntie May made sure I was okay before my mommy took me away. Do you know why your mommy left you there alone? I don't know for sure, but I guess maybe she didn't want me anymore, or she could be sick and she doesn't want me to get sick. Why wouldn't she just leave you with Auntie May? I don't know. Let me go check on dinner. I'll be right back, Officer Lee said, heading into the kitchen. Ah! What is that? Is that a little elephant? Oh, okay, I see it now. I know this poor little girl. I'm telling you, Amy, it gets worse. It's a sad guy. Yeah. I was like, it took me a minute. Oh, it's gonna get worse. Save the tears. It's gonna get worse. And ignore me if I start to cry. I do have my hanky. Oh, you need a rundown of the first chapter? She gets dropped off at the hotel and left. That's the first chapter. If you were there for the first chapter here, it's basically just an extended version of that. Yeah. It's gonna get worse. Uh yeah, it's an extended version of the first chapter there, where she's basically, her mom keeps kicking her out of the house to go over to the neighbor's house. You remember Auntie May? Oh, I know. And then one day she's all excited because her mom says, "You want to do something fun today?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she takes her and leaves her in a hotel. Yeah. Scared as all hell. Anywho. It's definitely getting worse, by the way. That's why I say ignore me, but I do have my hanky. Because it's about to get real bad. I know, right? See, she loves her mom. Like, why is it that so many kids, and I noticed this in a lot of those videos too, so many kids, it doesn't matter if their mothers leave them, they still just want to feel love from their mother, no matter what. It doesn't matter how their mothers treat them, they always want that love from their mother, and I could never figure it out. I'd be like, I would have kicked that bitch to the curb, but she's 6. So she just think that's her mom, you know? Exactly. It's so sad. And especially Amy, because Amy's little boy, didn't he just turn 7? Didn't he just turn 7, Amy? Mm-hmm. Always asking when they'll come back. Exactly. Yep, her little boy just turned 7. So that is already hitting her in the feels. Like, and people who love their kids, people who love their kids, they would never think to do that to their children. Okay. Let's just move on. Chapter 3. Because right now it's kind of a happy time. Sort of. I know, right? Exactly. I could never do that. I can send him to his room, tell him to go to his room because he's being a butt. But, you know. Okay. It's okay. I know what you meant. Okay. Chapter 3. After dinner, I helped her with the dishes. Wait. Oh, see, now, Lemur, I did too. I did too. I was 19 when I had my son, and I changed my entire life for him. That was my entire world, was this little boy. And that's all I ever thought about till he started doing things on his own. He learned to use the toaster when he was like 4. Taught him to use the microwave when he was 6. When he was 11, he learned how to use the stove and made his own macaroni and cheese. It was sad. It was sad every time he wanted to learn how to do. Yeah, exactly. When they start doing independent things, and it's like, oh. Amy, I know. He will always be your little boy no matter what. I will tell you that much. He will always be your little boy. My son still thinks it's funny when I go, "Where the hell is Ethan?" And he's like right there next to me because I'm right here. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Yep. Sucks when they get to be taller than you. See, and it might be too. It might actually be a lot different too. And your little boy, even at 7, he is sweet. Oh my gosh. His little sweet little voice when he talks. I love that. Okay. Chapter 3. Okay. After After dinner, I helped her with the dishes. She filled the sink with soapy water, and I placed our dinner dishes into the water. She pulled up a chair and placed it with the back up against the counter. I climbed up, stood on the chair, and Lee handed me a kitchen towel. If I wash and rinse, can you dry? She gets placed. Uh, Lee asked me. Sure, I told her. Have you ever helped with housework? Auntie May gave me chores along with Diamond and Jade, so I felt like I was part of the family. Really? What did you do? I took the I took the trash out of the bathrooms and brought it to the kitchen trash so Diamond could take the house trash outside, I told her as she handed me a plate. That's neat. Anything else? Lee inquired. On Saturdays, we cleaned the whole house. I got to wipe off all the bottom cabinets and the thingies at the bottom of the walls by the floor. Auntie May would put on music and we would have a fun day even though we were cleaning. What about the home with your mommy? I never spent a lot of time at home with my mommy. I don't think my mommy spent a lot of time at home. It was kind of messy. Okay, well, that needs to soak. So let's go back here and get you cleaned up before bed, she said, taking the towel from me and placing it on the counter. I jumped off the chair and waited as Lee replaced the chair at the small square table she had in the corner of her kitchen. We walked down the hall to the bathroom. Do you prefer a bath or a shower? Lee asked. I think shower. I can do it by myself without help, and I can do it quick, I told her. Officer Lee turned the knob for the water to run from the faucet. When you are ready to get in, pull this up, and the water will come out from up there. I think I can handle that. How would I turn it off? I asked. When you are done, push down the plunger you pulled up, and the water will switch back to the faucet. Turn this knob to the right, and the water will turn off. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you allowing me to stay here. Of course, sweetie. Now here is a toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste. I will leave it here on the counter for you. Once you get in, I will bring you a pajama pant set and a towel and leave them folded at the top of the toilet for you. Okay, thank you. I'll be in the living room when you finish. We can watch a movie before you go to bed. Would you like that? Officer Lee inquired. I guess so. I told her, shrugging my shoulders. I took my shower, dried off, dressed, and brushed my teeth before heading out to the living room. Officer Lee was finishing up cleaning the kitchen when I came out. Okay, how about something animated? What's that? Animated, I asked. Animated. It's a cartoon, she told me. So it's a kid movie. Sort of, but I'm a grown up and I like it. What's it about? Let me put the tape in and I will let you see the box. Officer Lee walked over to the TV and put in the movie. Once it was playing, she brought the cover of the movie to me and sat down on the sofa next to me. The title of the movie was The Little Mermaid. I turned the box in my hands, looking at the front, back, and sides of it before placing it down on the coffee table and relaxing back against the couch. After a few moments, I moved down the sofa and leaned my head on her upper arm. When she wrapped her arm around me, I felt safe and cared for. I didn't want to leave, but I knew the next day I would probably never see her again. I wanted to soak up all her safety and caring while I was there because I didn't know what the future held for me. So, what did you think? Lee asked me when the movie ended. It was fun. I liked the songs, I told her. My favorite part was the dingle hop hop. I like the dingle hopper too, especially when she combs it through her hair, Lee said, combing her fingers through her hair. We both giggled and danced around the room, singing the song about being where the people are. I could actually relate to the movie. She wanted to be like normal people and to be accepted. I just wanted to have a family and be with people who wanted me. She took me to the room I was going to be sleeping in and tucked me into the bed. She made sure I was comfortable and kissed me on the forehead. I would read you a story, but I don't have any children's books, she told me. That's okay. I'm used to going to sleep without a story, I said. I love The Little Mermaid. It's great. Ugh. Anyway, I didn't realize that chapter was that short, but I know she's getting ready to get placed here in a minute. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, she's gonna end up meeting up with the social worker. Okay. Okay. You don't have to like me, Amy, but I know you love me. It's okay. It's okay. I know. It's hitting me too, okay? It's hitting me too. I can feel it. It's getting there. The Little Mermaid. Because it was my favorite movie as a kid. I loved The Little Mermaid. Plus, it's cute. The Dinkle Hop Hop. Ah, see, I'm telling you, Amy. I'm telling you. Hey, I watched the Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid. You know, the original, the story that is not Disney in any way. Yeah, The Little Mermaid eats people. Aw, poor Camaro. She's in a mod meeting with Rod. Ugh. All right, chapter 4. The next morning, when I woke up, I could smell food cooking. I opened my eyes and looked around at the room. At first, in my partially asleep state, I was confused and didn't know where I was. I rubbed my eyes, trying to erase the tears that were welling up, then remembered where I was. I remembered how much fun I had with Officer Lee the night before and ran out to the kitchen following the smell of eggs. Good morning, Mackenzie. Would you like some breakfast? Officer Lee asked. Yes, please, I said as I climbed up on one of the bar stools set up at her counter. Well, all right, she said, placing 3 sausage links on a plate with 2 scoops of scrambled eggs and a piece of toast, cut from corner to corner into triangles. It smells good, I said, sniffing the air. Would you like some milk? She asked, placing the plate in front of me. I nodded and began shoveling the food into my mouth. The eggs were completely gone before she even finished pouring the glass of milk. Slow down, Mackenzie. You're going to get a stomach ache, she said, placing the cup of milk on the counter in front of my plate. I can't believe you made this for me. It's so delicious, I said, small bits of food escaping my mouth and landing on the counter in front of me. Why not? You have to eat, right? Didn't your mommy ever make you breakfast? Sure, a few times. Sometimes it was a bowl of dry cereal that I had to eat with a cup of water because my mommy says milk is too expensive. Once she bought toaster pastries, but we don't have a toaster, so she said they were garbage. You know, you can eat toaster pastries right out of the box without a toaster, right? I wasn't allowed to. Once I tried to sneak a package to my room, but the foil packaging made too much noise and I was caught. Boy, was my mommy mad. I had emptied my plate and gulped down my milk before hopping down off the bar stool. Lee picked up my plate and cup. Did you want any more? She asked as I headed down the hall to the bathroom. No, thank you, I told her, yelling over my shoulder as I walked away. I washed my hands and face, brushed my teeth, then went into the bedroom to change my clothes. I dug through the bag of new clothes and picked out the shirt that Officer Lee said was her favorite and a new pair of pants. Once I was dressed, I ran back out to the living room, barefoot, where Officer Lee was waiting for me with a hairbrush. She sat on the sofa and I stood in front of her while she brushed my hair. You're just like Auntie May, I told her. Oh, yeah? How's that? She inquired. You take care of me. Didn't your mommy take care of you? Not really. She told me what to do and I had to listen or she would get mad and yell at me. Did she ever hit you? I don't think so. She used to tell me to get away from her before she beat me, but she never did. I always ran to my room or to Auntie May's house. Okay, sweetie, I'm all done. Go gather your things. It's almost time to go. I don't want to go. I want to stay here with you. I told you yesterday you can't stay here with me. It was only for one night. I promise you will go to a nice home with other children to play with. That will be more fun than staying with a grown up. But I like it here. I'll be good. I promise. I cried, plopping down on the floor and latching onto her leg. How about I check in on you every so often to make sure you're okay? You promise? I promise. Officer Lee picked me up and carried me to the room I had slept in. The clothes that she had neatly folded and placed into the bag the night before were now scattered around the room from when I was looking for something to wear. We're going to have to pick this up first, she said, placing me down on the floor. She helped me pack my stuff back into the bag she had given me, and I helped her make the bed before we headed out to the car to leave. She opened the back door behind the driver's side and assisted me into her car as she placed the bag of all my new things into the trunk. I pulled the seatbelt down over my shoulder and pressed the tongue into into the buckle. Officer Lee made sure I was secure before closing my door and climbing in behind the steering wheel. Auntie May tried. She tried to be a foster family, but by the time that she had finished all of the classes and all the crap that they make you go through in order to be a foster family, they told her that Mackenzie was no longer available. So she basically lost hope. That's why I was like, that's already been mentioned, Christy Jorgensen. uh, yeah, there we go. All right. She opened the back door behind the driver's side and assisted me into her car. As she placed the bag of all my new things in the trunk, I pulled the seatbelt down over my shoulder and pressed the tongue into the buckle. Officer Lee made sure I was secure before closing my door and climbing in behind the steering wheel. So, Mackenzie, do you like sports? She asked as she drove me to the police station. I like baseball. Auntie May's family comes over and watches the games during baseball season and during the World Series. My mommy says sports are for boys, but I like watching it on TV with Auntie May and her family, I told her, staring out the window. I think baseball is fun. Sports are for everyone. That's why they're on TV. For anyone to watch, and it doesn't matter if you are a boy or a girl. Everyone can watch, Lee said with a slight anger in her tone. Do you, do you know where I'm going to be staying at? I asked, in order to change the subject. No, sweetie, I don't. But if you want, I can find out before the social worker arrives to take you, and I can do a background search on the grown-ups in the house. I nodded in agreement just as we arrived at the station, and Officer Lee parked her car. She headed around to the trunk first to retrieve my bag. She opened the back door to the car, allowed me to climb out, and she scooped me up into her arms, carrying me and my bag inside. The officer that tried to pull me out of the car the day before was standing just inside the door. He waved at me, and I buried my face into Officer Lee's neck. After she checked in with the officer in the front, she took me over to her desk and sat me down in the chair I had occupied the day before, placing my bag down on the floor in front of me. She dialed the phone and waited. Hello, this is Officer Lee from the Destin County Police Department. I called yesterday about a little girl left at a hotel by her mother, she said to the person on the other end of the line. Okay, do you know who the family is that she will be staying with? I would like to look into them in order to reassure her. Right, I got it. Yes, I'll be here. Thank you, she said before hanging up the phone. Okay, Mackenzie, a social worker will be here shortly to take you to a temporary home. You will stay there until they can find you long-term foster care. Who am I going to be staying with? I asked. She said the woman you're staying with is Betty Warren. I'm looking her up now to see if she has ever been in trouble. The lady I talked to said she is still gathering your file together so you could be hanging out with me here for a little while today, she told me. I would rather stay with you. Mackenzie, I can ask, but I told you the foster care system seems to think that my job is too demanding and dangerous for me to bring a child into my home. From what I can see, I promise that the family you are going to be staying with has had a lot of children in their home. Could you at least give it a try? Okay, but what if I don't like Betty Warren or the other children in the house? How about I go with you and we meet them together? She asked. You would do that? I inquired. Absolutely. I want to make sure you're comfortable before I give you to someone. You let me know what you think, and I will feel better about you staying there. I nodded as a woman with short brown hair wearing a gray pantsuit approached us and stepped up next to Officer Lee's desk. Hello, I'm Janet Russell. I'm from Social Services here for Mackenzie. The lady told Officer Lee, extending her hand. This here is Mackenzie, Officer Lee said, motioning toward me and shaking Janet Russell's hand. Well, hello there, Mackenzie. I'm Janet Russell. Can you tell me what your last name is? She asked me. I stood up and straightened my clothes before extending my hand to the social worker. I'm just Mackenzie. I don't have other names, I told her sternly before sitting back down in the chair and staring at my lap. Okay, Janet said, standing back up to talk to Officer Lee. Well, I need more information in order to put her in the system. Well, her mother abandoned her and didn't exactly leave a note with all her information on it, the officer told Janet. Can I use your name? I practically whispered. What's that, sweetie? Officer Lee asked me. Can I use your name? Could I be Mackenzie Lee? I requested. I don't mind. Janet, is that okay? She asked the social worker. Temporarily, it's okay. We can fix it on her paperwork once we find her mother. Well, there you go. You are now known as Mackenzie Lee, Officer Lee said, smiling at me. I looked at the social worker. Can I stay with her now? I requested. I'm sorry, but no. Officer Lee has a very demanding job, and it is not safe for you to stay with her. I can assure you, though, that we have found a very nice family for you to stay with. There are other children there as well, so you will have some friends to play with, Janet informed me. I would like to go with you when you take her to meet Mrs. Warren and the children in her home, so I can tell them a little bit. I can tell them the little bit that I know about her personality and help her get settled in, Officer Lee requested. That would be okay. First, I will need a photo of you. Is that okay, Mackenzie? Janet asked. Yes, ma'am, I told her. Janet held up a camera to her face so she could look through the viewer and aimed it at me. She pressed the button on the top of the camera and captured my look of sadness. I blinked in order to eradicate the flash blindness temporarily burned into my retinas as the photo emerged from the slot in front of the camera. Officer Lee picked up my bag off the floor and slung it over her shoulder. She grabbed my hand as I hopped up off the chair and escorted me out to the social worker's car. Lee strapped me in the back seat behind the passenger side that time. She put my bag into the trunk, then took her place in the seat in front of me. Janet climbed in behind the steering wheel and started the car. Mackenzie, do you know when your birthday is? Janet asked as she drove. April 20, I told her. You know your birthday, but you don't know your last name? Janet scoffed. Everybody always called me Mackenzie or Kenzie. Auntie May would make me a cupcake and put a number candle in it for my age and told me I was born April 20 and that was a special day to her, I told her through clenched teeth. Why was that day so special to her? Janet asked. Because that was the day I came into her life. Who is Auntie May to you? Janet inquired. She's the lady who lives next door and takes care of me every day, I explained. If Auntie May takes care of you every day, what happened yesterday? I don't know. My mommy took me away yesterday. I only got to wave at Auntie May as my mommy drove away with me in the back seat. I don't know why. She had never taken me anywhere before. I always go to Auntie May's house. I wonder what What changed yesterday that made her decide to get rid of her little girl? Janet said to Officer Lee. That would be a discussion best left for when she is no longer in the car, Officer Lee told Janet. My mommy got a note in the mail that made her very angry with me. When she picked me up from Auntie May's house the other day, she grabbed me by the arm and dragged me home. I almost fall down in the yard. Then she yelled at me to go to bed when we got inside the house. How did you know about the note? Janet asked. When my mommy thought I was in bed, she called someone on the phone and I heard her say that bastard sent her a letter saying he was out, I told her. Well, aren't you an observant little girl? Janet said, peering at me through her rearview mirror. Officer Lee, I began. Yes, sweetie, she replied. What's bastard? I asked. That's a grown-up word. So I shouldn't say it, right? Right, she said, chuckling. The rest of the ride, I was looking out the window, crying quietly, while Officer Lee and the social worker whispered to each other from the front seat. I was nervous going to a stranger's house, seeing as I'd never really met new people. I wiped my face with the bottom of my shirt as I imagined my mother throwing a party at home since I wasn't there anymore. Auntie May was probably very worried about me since my mommy came back without me. Janet stopped the car in front of a white painted home. I looked outside. I looked out the side window of the car and watched as a wide lady with short brown hair emerged from the house. Several children, all different ages, followed behind her. Hello, Janet. I'm so excited to be able to house another child for you. How's Derek doing? The lady asked as Janet exited the vehicle. Officer Lee got out of the car and opened the door for me. She knelt down next to the car and placed her hand on my knee. Come on, Mackenzie. Let's go meet the lady who's going to be taking care of you for a little while, Officer Lee said as I looked past her to the house. I pressed the button to release my seatbelt and turned to let my legs hang out of the car before slowly sliding off the seat and placing my feet on the ground. Officer Lee grabbed my bag from the trunk and held my hand as we approached the lady that came out of the house. Is there a problem? The lady asked Officer Lee due to a uniformed officer escorting me. No, ma'am, there's no problem. I'm the officer who responded to the call of an abandoned child, and she stayed with me last night. I thought I could help her get acclimated to her new surroundings and share with you a little information I have been able to gather with the little time I have been with her, Lee informed. Okay, let's go inside. She can go with the other children and we can talk, the lady said. The large woman took a few moments to turn around, and the other children went into the house in front of her. Janet Russell followed the woman, and Lee grabbed my hand, leading me up the front walk toward the house and up the 3 steps to the front porch. We walked inside to the living room. The house was small and a little cramped inside with the furniture. There was a wraparound sofa where all of the children were sitting together and looking down at their hands on their laps. On the short end of the sofa was a wide chair that was big enough for 2 people, but I was sure it was for Betty Warren to sit on. I stood in front of the chair as Janet and Lee walked over and stood. I stood in front of the chair as Janet and Lee walked over and stood next to the long end of the sofa. The television was encased in a wooden cabinet that sat on the floor facing the short end of the sofa. First things first, the lady said, sitting down in her large chair in front of me and leaned forward toward me. My name is Betty Warren. You will be staying with me for a little while. Is that okay? I walked over and grabbed onto Officer Lee's leg, turning my face away from Betty Warren. Officer Lee placed her hand on my shoulders and pulled me away from her leg. She knelt down in front of me as Betty Warren leaned back in her chair. Now, Mackenzie, I need you to be as respectful to Mrs. Warren as you have been to me, okay? Officer Lee requested. I nodded, then walked over to Betty Warren. Hello, ma'am. My name is Mackenzie Lee. I appreciate you opening your home to me so I can have a safe place to sleep and a hot meal to eat. Thank you, I told her. Well, that was very nice. How about you go play in the next room with the other children while I talk with Janet and this nice police officer, Betty told me as she played with my hair. I nodded as the other children stood and headed toward the back of the house. Following behind them, we walked past the dining room and entered a room filled with toys. The toys in the room were, in my opinion, for children up to the age of 4, and the 6 other children in the house were very visibly older than I was. 4 boys and 2 girls. The girls went over to a playhouse and a play kitchen, and the boys went over to play with the racetrack setup. The children played without speaking to each other, while I sat down on the floor near the door and just watched the other kids play for a little while. I pressed my back up against the wall and hugged my knees. After a few moments, the oldest girl walked across the room and stood in front of me. Hi, I'm Angela. I'm Mackenzie, I replied. Would you like to play with us? Angela asked. Sure, I said, standing up and walking across the room to play with the girls. Hi, I'm Gwen, said the other girl. While the grown-ups talked in the living room, I tried to get better acquainted with the other children. I wanted to know about the woman I would be living with for a while. Is Mrs. Warren nice? I asked as I picked up fake plastic food and placed it in a plastic frying pan on the fake stove, pretending to play. As long as you follow her rules, it's fine. But if you question her, she doesn't like that, Gwen told me. What does that mean? I wondered. Mrs. Warren doesn't like us talking inside the house. We will need to talk about this during yard time, Angela warned. Why not? I asked. I will tell you later when we are outside, where we are allowed to talk, Angela said. Do you know how long I will be here? I wanted to know. If you were a boy, I would say not long. But because you are a girl, you could be here for years before you are able to escape, Angela said. I have been here longer than I've wanted to be. Some of the boys come and go so fast, I don't even have time to remember their names. Escape? What do you mean by that? I inquired. It's a long story. Wait until yard time. For now, be quiet before she comes in here, Angela told me. We continued to pretend play while Janet Russell, Officer Lee, and Betty Warren discussed my stay. Ooh. That's not even the worst of it. That's just hearing from the child's perspective. It's making me nervous, and I already know what's coming. Okay. All right, chapter 5. I got 5, 6, and 7 to read. So it's coming. We're almost there. After a while, Officer Lee came into the room and I ran over to her. She knelt down and I hugged her. Mrs. Warren seems like a nice lady. I made her promise that she would let you call me anytime you want to. If you ever need to talk, please just let her know and she will help you with the phone, okay? Officer Lee told me, handing me a small card. This has my phone number on it. I want you to hold on to this, and anytime you need me, please call me. Oh no. Don't worry. The whole video it'll be posted so you can go back if you want to. I nodded and noticed the tears filling her eyes. I placed my hand on her cheek and kissed her forehead. It was the same thing Auntie May did to me when I was sad. Officer Lee took my hand and led me out to the living room where Betty Warren and Janet Russell were standing. Janet handed Betty my bag, then knelt down to get eye to eye with me. Mrs. Warren is going to show you to your room and get you settled in. Officer Lee says she will come visit often to make sure you are comfortable. Here is my card. There is a number on there you dial on the telephone if you have an emergency, okay? Do you know how to use a telephone? Janet asked me. I know how to dial 911, I told her. Good, that's good, Betty said. Okay, how about you tell them goodbye and I will show you to your room. I nodded to Mrs. Warren and hugged Officer Lee one more time. Then I turned to Janet, stood in front of her, and asked, how long am I going to be staying here? That depends on how long it takes to find you long term housing. Why? Janet wondered. Well, Angela says she's been here a long time, but the boys seem to come and go quickly. Sometimes they leave so fast she doesn't have time to remember their names. Well, Angela has special needs, and it's harder to find a placement for children with special needs, Betty Warren told me. If Angela has special needs, we're going to need to find her a special needs housing, Janet said, taking notes. Her social worker says I am taking good care of her and she is fine with her staying here. She has been here for a couple of years and has settled in nicely. Her social worker has decided there is no reason to uproot her from the home she has come to get used to, Betty told her. I will check with her social worker and make sure she is checking on her regularly, Janet mentioned. Don't worry. She is going to be here in a couple of days. I will ask her about Angela and have her contact you, Betty said, herding Janet Russell and Officer Lee out the front door. I walked toward the door with Janet, Betty, and Officer Lee. I tried to wave at them as they left, but Mrs. Warren made sure to get her very large body between them and me. I stepped over to the front windows, squeezing in behind the sofa, and watched as the social worker and police officer left me in a stranger's home. Betty Warren closed the door, and it didn't matter how many people lived in that house. I felt alone. Let's go. Pick up your bag. Follow me, and I will show you where you'll be sleeping, Betty said. I grabbed the handle of the duffel bag that Officer Lee had given me and dragged it across the floor, following her down the hallway. As she waved her hand towards herself, beckoning me, I walked behind Betty Warren down a hallway where there were 4 bedrooms. The bedrooms to the right down the hall. The bedrooms were to the right down the hall, with one open door at the end, directly in front of us. Each room was missing the door. The first room we walked past had the walls painted blue, along with 2 sets of bunk beds in order for 4 children to sleep in there. The sheets on the bed were identical, navy blue and sports themed. The room was clean and the beds were made. It didn't look like anyone stayed in the room. The next room we walked past had the walls painted green, and like the other room, had 2 sets of bunk beds for 4 children. The sheets on the beds were dinosaur themed, same as the room before. It was spotless and the beds were made as though no one was staying in that room. The third room we walked past had the walls painted pink, and the entire room was princess themed. There were only 2 beds in that room, and like the others, it appeared as though no one was staying in that room. The last room on the right at the end of the hallway was the one that Mrs. Warren took me into. The walls were painted purple, and the entire room was mermaid themed. There were again only 2 beds, but it didn't appear as though anyone else was staying in that room. She grabbed my arm and flung me up into the room when I peeked into the open doorway at the end of the hall. I noticed it was a bathroom before she pulled me away. I placed my bag on the floor in front of the dresser before looking around the room and taking in my surroundings. Just like the 4 bedrooms, the door was also missing from the bathroom. You will be sleeping in this room. Every morning, you are expected to make your bed exactly as you see it now. If it is not done correctly, you will be expected to do it again until it is corrected. No toys or writing utensils of any kind are allowed in the room. If you are caught with contraband of any kind, you will face consequences. Do you understand? Betty said in a stern tone of voice. No, I don't, I told her. No, you don't what? Understand? She asked. No, I don't understand. I don't know what contraband is. I informed her with a sassy attitude. The contact of her hand against the left side of my face almost knocked me off my feet. I stumbled into the wall, catching myself and standing upright. I placed my hand against my cheek as it stung. Your attitude is not going to fly here. You better watch how you talk to me. Do you understand that? Or are you just stupid? Betty told me, wagging her finger in my face, so close she almost hit my nose. I nodded that time and then walked over to sit on the bed. She grabbed my arm and stopped me from touching the bed in any way. Don't you dare mess up that bed. Put away your stuff, then come out and join the rest of us. You are not allowed to be in your room unless it is bedtime, she said, staring into my eyes with her furrowed brows. Mrs. Warren turned, then waddled out of the room, leaving me alone. I unzipped the bag and began putting my clothes in the supplied dresser. I opened one of the small top drawers and placed my clothes in carefully so I didn't mess up the folding job Officer Lee had done. Since the only clothes I had were enough for about 10 days, I felt as though the small drawer was sufficient enough. Once I had finished, I placed my bag on the floor and slid it under the bed. I pulled Officer Lee and Janet Russell's cards out of the pocket of my pants and very carefully, without disturbing the sheets, slid them under the pillow. I wanted to make sure I wasn't caught with them and they were taken from me. I walked over to the window and split the slats in the blinds in order to look out for a moment. I was looking out at the side of the house and noticed the neighbor was close by. It was almost as if I were it's almost as if I were to reach out the window, I could probably touch their siding. I didn't want Mrs. Warren to think I was hanging out in the room and get into trouble, so I moved away from the window and walked out of the room in order to join the others in the living room. The other children were just sitting on the couch, staring at the floor as if they were waiting for something. I walked over and sat on the floor in front of the sofa between Angela and Gwen's feet. Within moments, Mrs. Warren came into the room. Get up, she ordered. We all stood up. I looked at her, awaiting instructions, while the other children stared at the floor. Since you were all playing with the toys, every one of you needs to go into the toy room and clean up. We started to walk toward the toy room, but it wasn't fast enough for Betty. Now, she yelled. We ran toward the room and immediately began picking up the toys. Once we were done, Angela and Gwen grabbed my hands and led me into the kitchen. Angela grabbed 3 cleaning cloths, while Gwen reached under the sink and retrieved 3 bottles of spray cleaner. Angela gave 1 cloth to me and 1 to Gwen. Gwen passed each of us a bottle of cleaner. They led me back to the toy room, where we began spraying and wiping down each toy. 2 boys were sweeping the floor, and 1 was dusting the blinds and the furniture. The 4th boy was nowhere to be seen, but I was sure he was somewhere in the house. What's going on? I asked. Be quiet, or she'll put you in the naughty closet, Angela told me. What's the naughty closet? I wanted to know. Why is there talking going on in there? Betty came in angrily. I'm sorry, Mrs. Warren. I told her we had to be quiet, Angela told her. Mackenzie, there are rules in this house that must be followed. If you break those rules, there are consequences, Mrs. Warren explained. Angela, you need to teach her the rules. No talking. How is she supposed to teach me the rules if we aren't allowed to talk? I asked. Is that a sassy attitude? Mrs. Warren said, stepping up into my personal space. I shook my head instead of speaking, in fear that she would slap me again, then went back to cleaning like the rest of them. Mrs. Warren stood in the doorway watching us. When you're finished here, you can all go in and clean your rooms, she said before turning and leaving the room. When we finished cleaning the toy room, I followed Angela and Gwen down the hall to our rooms. The one boy who didn't help clean the toy room was standing in the doorway of the first room. One of the other boys joined him in the first room, and the younger 2 went in the second room. Angela and Gwen went into the third room, and I was by myself in the fourth room. The room I was in looked pretty clean to me, so I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do. At first, I set down my spray bottle and cloth on the dresser and headed back over to look out the window. I split the slats in the blinds to look out and turned slightly to my right. The street was close to the window, but I knew the other rooms had to be closer. The fence to the backyard was directly to my left. I could barely see cars drive by, but I did see flashes as they passed in my line of sight. I didn't know if Mrs. Warren was going to come back in and check our cleaning, so I walked over to the dresser and picked up my cleaning supplies. I just repeated what I did in the toy room. I sprayed my cloth and wiped every surface in the room. Once I had finished, I peeked out into the hallway and saw Angela and Gwen standing in their doorway, holding their spray bottles and cloths. Staring at the floor, I walked over and stood in front of them. What do we do when we're done? I asked them. We wait quietly, Angela said, without looking up from the floor. I walked back over to my doorway and leaned against the door frame, looking out toward the boys' rooms. I set the spray bottle down on the floor and placed the cloth over the sprayer. It wasn't long before the boys were done as well, and they mimicked the other two girls. We just stood there, waiting for so long my legs started to get tired. I sat down on the floor and began picking at the fibers in the carpet. Mrs. Warren appeared at the opening of the hallway and immediately began screaming. What do you think you are doing? She yelled as I stood back up. I'm tired, I complained. Is that back talk? She said, stomping down the hallway toward me. No, ma'am. I'm just expressing my feelings. Auntie May says it's healthy to get your feelings out and let the others around you know so they can respond accordingly, I explained. Well, you aren't at Auntie May's house anymore. This is Mama Warren's house, and you will address me as such. Did everyone hear me? She yelled down the hallway. Yes, Mama Warren, all the other children replied in unison, still looking at the floor. Good. Now, if everyone is done cleaning their rooms, go wash for dinner. Except you, Mackenzie. Give me your cleaning supplies. I passed her the cloth and spray bottle. Now, you can go to bed, she said, and turned to walk away. But I'm hungry, I whined. You said you were tired, so it's time for bed. Put on your pajamas and brush your teeth. I'll be back as soon as the other children have settled for dinner. This isn't fair, I said, stomping my foot. I warned you, Betty Warren said before slapping me across the face a second time that day. Now, do as you're told, or it's going to get worse. In fear of what she might say or do if I spoke again, I kept quiet as she walked down the hall and out of sight. As soon as the other children were finished in the bathroom and had made their way out of the hallway to go eat, I washed and dressed for bed. As I laid down and waited for Mrs. Warren to come back, I pulled the card that Officer Lee had given me out from under the pillow. Even though I only spent one night at her house, at that moment I missed Officer Lee and began to cry. When I heard Mrs. Warren stomp her way down the hallway, I slid the card under my pillow just as she came into the room, and she was angry. Why are you crying? She yelled at me. I want my mommy, I said between sobs. Yeah, well, your mommy doesn't want you, so you better get over it, and fast. There is no crying in my house, she said, leaving the room. I didn't understand why she was so angry at me, nor did I understand why she had become so mean after Officer Lee and Janet Russell had left. I was lucky enough that when my mommy had become angry at me, she would just take me to Auntie May's house, and I didn't have to endure her wrath. I had nowhere else to go to hide from this woman, and I had no idea how far Mrs. Warren would eventually go with abusing me if I didn't conform to her idea of how a child should behave. Amy, oh, I'll fight this lady. Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you. This is why I had to make sure to let y'all know. By the way, it gets kind of bad. It's, it gets kind of bad. Sorry. Still got 2 more chapters, 6 and 7. Yeah. Oh, hope you're ready for it. Let me see where we're going to end at this. Okay, so it's not going to be too bad. Tomorrow is going to be worse. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's not going to be too bad, but tomorrow is going to be worse. So just just keep that in mind. All right. Chapter 6. I began to hold back my tears and tell myself I was going to be just fine. I was only able to sleep for a few minutes at a time that first night. The first time I had dozed off, I was awakened by the sound of the other children running down the hallway toward their bedrooms and Mrs. Warren screaming at them. You have exactly 10 minutes to get in your beds before I come back there. Whoever is not in their bed will spend the entire night in the naughty closet, she shouted. I lifted my head and watched as the girls ran past my open bedroom door as they went into the bathroom first to brush their teeth and use the toilet. I slowly slid out of bed, tiptoed to the bathroom. Angela, I said from the doorway, go back to bed, Mackenzie, before you get us into trouble, Angela said, after spitting toothpaste out of her mouth and into the running water. I just need to ask you a question, I told her. Tomorrow, during yard time, Angela said, before replacing her toothbrush back into her mouth. That is, if you don't get into trouble before now and after breakfast chores and end up not being able to go outside with us, Gwen said, with her right hand balled into a fist and placed on her hip. I looked down the floor and slowly walked back to the bedroom. I sat down on the bed and waited. When the girls had finished and passed by my door again, heading toward their room, I heard someone knock twice on the wall in the hallway. At that point, the boys ran from their bedrooms, past my room, and into the bathroom. 3 minutes, Mrs. Warren shouted from the living room. The boys quickly completed their bathroom time and ran back to their bedrooms just in time for Mrs. Warren to come down the hall. Time's up, she said from the opening of the hallway. I listened as her heavy footsteps went room to room, stopping for a few seconds at a time, making sure all the children were in their beds before continuing on to the next room. I pulled the blanket over my head as she stopped at the doorway to my room, but didn't come through the door. She sighed heavily and grunted before turning to head back down the hall. I waited a few moments to be sure she was gone before slipping out of bed and tiptoeing to the doorway, slowly peeking out and down the hall. As I noticed the hall was empty, I snuck out of the room and into the room of Angela and Gwen. Before stepping up next to Angela's bed, I peeked out the doorway and down the hall one more time, to be sure Mrs. Warren hadn't heard me. As soon as I was positive she wasn't coming back, I took the time I had and tapped Angela on the shoulder. Angela, I whispered. She turned over and looked at me. What are you doing in here, Mackenzie? You're going to get us in trouble, she said. I'm scared and I don't want to be alone, I told her, holding back my tears. It doesn't matter what you want. If Mrs. Warren finds you in here, all three of us are going to get a beating. Go back to bed before she comes back. Comes back? I asked. Yes, she checks on us every few hours to make sure we are still in bed. Once I was in the bathroom during bed checks, and she beat me so badly I had to wear pants for almost a month to cover up the marks so my social worker didn't see them. Look, go back to bed, and we can talk tomorrow during yard time. I will tell you how to survive here and how to get out. Now go, Angela told me. I nodded, then tiptoed to the bedroom door, peeking out to ensure the hallway was clear. Sneaking back to my room, I slowly slid back under the covers and reached under my pillow to hold Officer Lee's card in my hand. Most of the night, I laid awake. Each time Mrs. Warren came down the hallway, her footsteps were heavy and loud. Even, even if I was able to get to sleep, I was awoken by the sound of her coming down the hall. I pulled the covers up around my neck and squeezed my eyes shut every time she came into my room and stepped up to my bed, in fear of what she would do to me if she knew I was awake. Before the sun came up the next morning, Mrs. Warren came stomping down the hallway, blowing a whistle. I could hear the other children scrambling to the doorways, so I got up and headed to my doorway. We all stood with our heads down, awaiting instruction. Good morning, children, Mrs. Warren yelled like a drill sergeant. Good morning, Mama Warren, we all said back, with the nom de plume she insisted we called her. Make your beds, clean your rooms, wash up, get dressed, and come out for breakfast. Don't forget, everyone comes out at the same time. If one of you is slower than the others, assist that one. If I have to come back here to get you, there will be consequences. We all went back into our rooms and did as we were instructed. I made the bed before changing out of my pajamas and dressing for the day. Neatly, I folded my nightclothes and placed them on the end of my bed. I was done first and went into Gwen and Angela's room to see if they needed any help. They were already dressed and in the process of making their beds. Hey, Angela, Gwen, I said, stop talking. Just wait in the doorway until we are done, Angela told me. Why aren't we allowed to talk? I asked. Not in the house. I told you last night. We will talk during yard time, Angela said. We can only talk outside, Gwen said. That's enough, Angela emphasized through clenched teeth. Come on, I need to check to make sure your bed is made properly. We walked over to my room and Angela tightened the blanket on the bed. When we were done, we stepped out into the hallway. I stood in the doorway of my room as Angela joined Gwen in the doorway of their room. At the same time as all four boys, we lined up and headed out of the hallway. The seven of us all walked out to the breakfast area at the same time. We circled around the table with 4 chairs lined up on one side, 4 chairs lined up on the other side, as well as a chair on each end. The 4 boys were on one side, and us 3 girls were across the table from them. I started to pull out the chair in front of me, but Angela touched my arm and stopped me. I looked around and noticed everyone else standing behind the chairs, waiting. Mrs. Warren emerged from the kitchen with a tray full of food: eggs, bacon, pancakes, and potatoes. She stepped up to a chair on one end, next to the oldest boy, and placed the tray down on the edge of the table. The older boy stepped behind the end chair and pulled it out for Betty Warren to sit down. Girls, have you forgotten your role? Mrs. Warren asked. I followed Angela and Gwen into the kitchen. Angela snapped her fingers and motioned for me to open the drawer next to the refrigerator. The drawer contained cloth napkins, to which I pulled out 8. Gwen opened the drawer next to the napkins, and she produced 8 sets of cutlery. Angela was the tallest. She reached up into the upper cabinet and pulled 8 plates out, placing them on the counter in order to get a better grip on them. Sit down, boys. No reason to stand around while we wait for the girls to get it together, Mrs. Warren said as we were on our way back out to the table. The boys pulled out their chairs. The boys pulled their chairs out, and the oldest boy pulled the chair out for Mrs. Warren. They were seated. They were seated at the table in time for their place settings. Angela went around the table and passed out the plates, beginning with the youngest boy and making her way around the table where the last plate was placed in the spot where I would be sitting. Gwen followed behind Angela, passing out the silverware. I followed suit with the napkins. Thank you, girls. Please join us, Mrs. Warren instructed. Slowly and without saying a word, we pulled out our chairs and joined the others at the table. Mrs. Warren initiated us to hold hands, placing her hands, palms up, in front of Angela and the older boy. Thank you, Lord, for this bounty we are about to receive as the nourishment of our bodies, and forgive us from our sins. Watch over us as we go through our day and keep us safe. Amen. She led us in prayer. The boys began passing their plates down to Mrs. Warren as she dished out breakfast. Once the plates were passed back to the boys, Gwen reached over and stacked my plate on top of hers before passing them to Angela. Angela placed the stack of plates on the edge of the table near Mrs. Warren so she could dish out breakfast for the girls as well. Once we all had a plate in front of us, we picked up our utensils and began. We ate in silence. That was until I forked a syrup-soaked piece of pancake that was too big, and it fell off my utensil and landed on the white tablecloth. "What is wrong with you?" Mrs. Warren shouted at me as she slid the chair back away from the table as fast as her little ham hock legs would allow. I quickly grabbed the piece off the table with my bare hand and stuffed it into my mouth. She struggled as she stood up from the chair. Her round belly bumped the table, and the other kids scrambled to make sure nothing spilled over. As she stomped over behind my chair, the wheezing coming from her mouth made me nervous. Pulling my chair away from the table, she pushed me in the chair into the corner of the dining room. My knees banged the wall. She had pushed me up so close I couldn't move my legs. I held back tears as I turned and watched her waddle over and clear away my place setting. Using my napkin, she rubbed at the spot I had left on the tablecloth. Once she was satisfied, she tossed the napkin on the plate, then walked into the kitchen and placed my plate into the sink. After she made her way back out to the table, she rejoined the other children and they were able to finish eating. "Turn around and face the wall," Betty Warren yelled at me when she noticed I was looking at them. I turned back and stared at the corner as each child finished eating. I could hear the clanging of their cutlery as they stacked it onto their plates. One by one, the children consumed the entirety of their breakfast. Then each of them cleared their dishes from the table. Once all the dishes were placed in the sink, I turned around and watched the other 6 children lined up in front of the kitchen opening. They stood with their hands behind their backs, looking down at the floor, awaiting instructions. "Angela, you're in charge of washing the dishes. Gwen, I need you to take the tablecloth off and spray it with a spot treatment before placing it in the washing machine. Boys, you have the same chores as always. Now get to it," Mrs. Warren told them. She remained in her seat at the table after Gwen had pulled the tablecloth off the table. One boy came in and sprayed the cleaner on the surface as another boy wiped it down. I watched as a third boy took the vacuum and ran it over the vinyl flooring, as the fourth boy waited to mop. Once all the children were done, Mrs. Warren stood up from her chair and walked over to the corner where I was sitting. She grabbed a hold of the chair and dumped me out of it onto the floor, then replaced it back to the table. "Everyone get outside. It's yard time," she said gruffly. One of the older boys helped me to my feet as another boy opened the sliding glass door and ushered us outside before he closed it. All 7 of us ran out into the backyard and as far as we could get away from the house. The yard was fenced in and plain. There weren't any toys or fun things for us to play with. I followed the other children as they led me into the far corner of the yard behind an old rusty shed. There was probably 5 feet between the back wall of the shed and the fence line. They had it set up like a hiding spot. There was a plastic tarp being used as a front door. It was strung up between the fence lining. The it was strung up. It was strung up between the fence lining the yard and the shed in order to be used for walls. Some old wood that appeared as though it used to be a part of the fence but had been replaced was being used to block the other opening and had been placed along the top for a makeshift roof. Surprisingly, there was enough room for all of us to sit down in a circle. Gwen was on my left, with Angela next to her. The oldest boy was next to Angela, and the 3 others between us. "Okay, now we can talk," Angela said. "Why aren't we allowed to talk in the house?" I asked. "We will get to that. First, you know my name is Angela. I'm 11 years old, and I have been here for several years. She won't let me leave because I'm terrified of her, and no matter what, I do what I'm told. I don't ask questions, and I don't talk back. I am her perfect robot, and she doesn't want to lose the one who actually obeys her. She tells everyone I have special needs because no one wants to take care of a child with special needs if they don't have to," Angela stated. "You know me. I'm Gwen. I'm 9 years old, and I have been here for 2 years. I'm I learn quick and know when to keep my mouth shut. As long as you don't talk back to Mrs. Warren, she's not too bad. She's just loud and large," Gwen informed. "I'm Brian. I'm 10. I've only been here a couple of months. I hate it here and hope my social worker is able to find me permanent housing soon. I think Mrs. Warren only showers once a week because sometimes she smells, the boy to my right said. I'm Alex. I'm 8. I got here 2 weeks before Brian. I hate it here too, but I like sharing a room with Brian, the next boy said. I'm Jimmy. I'm 12. This one here, this is my brother Jack. He's 13. We have been here about a year, and Mrs. Warren is doing a lot to keep those around who do what they are told without question. We don't talk much, so she wants to keep us here. The boy next to Alex said. Before you got here, there was a boy here that refused to do anything without asking why first. He was only here a few days and was confined to his room most of that time. I don't remember his name, but I do know she told the social worker he was a problem child and was refusing to follow the rules. The next day, the social worker showed up and took him away, Angela explained. His name was Derek. He was 8, and he didn't want to be this bitch's maid, Jack said. Jack, she's 6. Watch your mouth, Angela chastised. Is this your clubhouse? I asked. Clubhouse? That's cute. We call this our safe space, Angela said. So why are we allowed to talk in the house? I wanted to know. Mrs. Warren says children should be seen and not heard, Jack contributed. So if I continue to do the things she doesn't like, does that mean I will get to leave? I inquired. Not necessarily. The boys, yes, but you're a girl. The girls can be beaten down, whereas the boys are stronger than she is. That could mean she will beat you until you comply. That's what she did to me. I had to cover up my marks anytime the social worker came for a home visit. She doesn't beat the boys, Angela said. What happens if you tell on her? I asked. Oh. Oh, sorry. I lost my train of thought. What happens if you tell on her? I asked. She explains it away. With Mia, it was because she was a spoiled child and she didn't want to do chores she was assigned. The social worker was trying to find another placement for her, but Mia was 16. And after 2 weeks, she couldn't wait any longer and she ran away. After that, we don't know what happened to her, Angela explained. How did she run away? I wondered. She waited until after first bed checks, then snuck out her bedroom window. She was able to fool Mrs. Warren and wadded up blankets under her comforter throughout the night when she did bed checks. The next morning, when Mrs. Warren came down the hall to wake us up, she realized Mia was gone and called her social worker, Angela informed. I have Officer Lee I could stay with. If I told Janet that Mrs. Warren hits the kids in her house, you think she would let me stay with Officer Lee for a few days? I asked. Probably not. Mrs. Warren could tell her that you have an active imagination and that you might not be a good fit for her house. In turn, you could end up here for a couple of weeks after that until your social worker finds you another placement. Mrs. Warren is supposed to be short-term housing. Unfortunately, if she decides you are worth keeping around, she will tell the social worker you are a troubled child and you need special attention. She will insist that she is the only one able to control troubled children, and most of the social workers agree after she talks to them. Angela said, what did you do to end up living with Mrs. Warren? I asked Angela. I didn't do anything, Angela began. My parents died in a car accident. They were hit by a drunk driver. Do you have any other family you could stay with? Jack asked, touching her hand. My grandparents are too old to take care of me, and neither one of my parents had any other family. My mother was pregnant with my little sister when she died, so just like my parents, I'm an only child and have no one to take care of me, Angela said, looking down at Jack's hands. I am your family, Gwen said, placing her hand on Angela's shoulder, as one lone tear dripped off her cheek. When I turn 18 and finally get out of here, I only have to take care of myself. Of course, Gwen will always have a place to stay with me, Angela concluded. Did you do something to get placed here? Gwen asked me. My mommy decided she didn't want me anymore, so she took me into a tall building and left me there, I told them. Dang, your mother just kind of abandoned you? That's crazy, Jimmy said. Yep. And the lady at the hotel called Officer Lee to come get me, I told them. I'm pretty sure she probably called the cops, and Officer Lee was just the one who responded to the call, Brian said. I don't know, but I got to stay with her at her house that night, I told them. That's crazy. Was her house full of guns and cop stuff? Alex inquired. No, it was pretty normal, I said. How about you two? How did y'all end up living here? I asked Jack and Jimmy. We were left home alone for several weeks until the neighbors figured out that our parents hadn't come back and called the police. We were 7 and 8 then, and the court awarded us to the state when it took a year to find our parents. They were sent to jail for 5 years for child neglect and have to take parenting classes in order to get us back. Since their release a month ago, we get supervised visits with them twice a month, but we've only seen them once. And our social worker said they still haven't signed up for any parenting classes, Jack said. So someday y'all could go back and live with your parents, I asked Jack, thinking it would be great if my mommy would let me live with her again. We will probably age out of the system before that happens. I don't think they want us back. They haven't followed the court order and they don't stick with the visitation schedule, Jimmy said. My mom said she couldn't stand the sight of me after my daddy left because I looked just like him. One day she dropped me off at a police station and told the officer she just couldn't do it and didn't want to be a mother anymore. I was 5 and will never forget that day, Brian said. What about your daddy? I wanted to know. After he left, he just disappeared. No one knows where he is, including my mother, Brian informed. What about child support? He never paid child support? Jack inquired. I don't know. I know my mom used to get a check in the mail, but I think it was a paycheck from her job, Brian said. Sounds to me like your mom was using your child support money as a paycheck. Maybe she does. Maybe she does know where your dad is, but won't tell anyone so she can keep cashing those checks, Jack said. How long did you live with her after your dad left? Angela said. A few months, maybe, Brian said. Sounds like it was just long enough to be awarded child support, along with receiving a couple of checks. You're lucky your mother gave up rather than killing you for insurance money, Jack said, shrugging his shoulders and raising his eyebrows. Jack! That was an inappropriate comment, Angela chastised. Okay, well, Alex, what about you? Jack said, turning the focus. I don't know and don't want to know, Alex said. You don't know what happened to your parents? Angela asked Alex. Nope. Maybe I was a baby, but I don't know, Alex theorized. How many homes have you been to? Gwen asked me. My mommy just dumped me the other day. I went home with Officer Lee, then came here. That's it, I told them. Wow, you got placed fast. Some of us spent a few days, up to a couple of weeks in the social worker's office, Angela said. I spent my first night at Officer Lee's house. She's the one who picked me up from the building, I told them. Then yesterday I met Janet Russell, and she brought me here. If you have a cop on your side, you could easily get out of here. The cop might help you get placed in long-term foster care awaiting adoption. Unfortunately, we aren't available for adoption. This is supposed to be our last stop before we go home, as long as our parents do what they are told to do by the courts, Jimmy said. Maybe Mrs. Warren will let me call Officer Lee, I wondered. Good luck with that. We aren't allowed to use the phone. If someone calls for us, like our social worker, she sits right there and makes sure no one says anything about her, Angela told me. No, Officer Lee said I can call her anytime I want, and Mrs. Warren has to let me. I have her card with her number on it, so I just have to ask to use the phone, I told them. The only way you will be able to talk to Officer Lee without Mrs. Warren knowing what you are telling her is if the officer takes you away from the house, Jimmy said. No, just leave it alone. I don't want to move again. I have finally found my family, and I will lose her if we are moved from here. Since most couples who are looking to adopt want children under the age of 5, we don't stand a chance, Angela said. Just go with the flow and hope for the best life you can have. Brian said, you will be out before you know it. Hopefully. Am I going to be here for a long time? I asked. That all depends. If your social worker is able to find you a family soon, you won't be here long. I will tell you, the longer you are here, the easier it will be for Mrs. Warren to break your spirit, and you will begin to become dependent on her and her instructions, Angela told me. I just want to be a kid. I don't want to clean the house like grown ups, I said. Have you actually looked at the size of that lady? She can't do anything around her house. And that's why we do it. Hell, she can barely breathe when she moves. I bet she is in there right now eating something, Alex said, rolling his eyes. What if I talk to Janet Russell? She's the one who put me here. Maybe she can help me get out of here, I expressed. If Mrs. Warren can break you down to complying with her demands, she will make up excuses to the social worker to keep you here, Gwen said. On top of that, she won't even allow you to speak to the social worker alone. It's best to just let it go until you are moved. But how long will I have to wait? She had already hit me on my face twice. I don't want to know what happens if she is really mad, I informed them. She slapped you? When? Jimmy said, balling his hands into fists. The first time was when she showed me which room I would be sleeping in. The second time was last night when she wouldn't let me eat dinner. I said, why did she slap you? Do you know? Brian wondered. I don't know. I just asked her some questions. Auntie May says asking questions is how we understand things, I explained. You can't ask her questions. She doesn't like being questioned, Jimmy informed. Please don't mention the Auntie May thing again. It's bad enough she has the boys call her foster mother. Now we have to call her Mama Warren, Angela complained. Oh, yeah. Hold on, wait. What happened? Aw. I know it's getting hot outside. uh, woo. Oh no. Okay. Let me read chapter 7 and then we'll go over what Rod said in the Discord. Okay. I know, right? This poor girl. I'm telling you, tomorrow gets worse. So, all right. Chapter 7, last chapter. Kids, come, Mrs. Warren yelled from the back door. We all stood up and ran toward the house as fast as we could so we wouldn't get into trouble. Quietly, we stepped up to the table, the same as we had for breakfast, and waited for instruction. Now that I knew everyone's name, I knew that Jack was the one who catered to Mrs. Warren. He pulled out her chair, and he did special tasks for her. Each one of the children had their own special tasks that were required by Mrs. Warren. I figured the reason Jack was basically her personal assistant was because he was the quietest of all the children. But I felt as though she was taking advantage of him. Girls, please. Angela and Gwen, you should be teaching Mackenzie what to do at mealtimes. Go, now, Mrs. Warren practically grunted. When she emerged from the kitchen with lunch, and we were all standing around the table, she snapped her fingers as if to rush us. The three of us scurried into the kitchen and repeated the process for the table setting from breakfast. The boys were already sitting at the table when we came out, and Mrs. Warren again said a prayer while we all held hands after Angela, Gwen, and I were finally seated. At lunch, I made sure to keep my face hovering over my plate and my fork positioned in my hand, precisely located with the prongs either over the plate or in my mouth. My face was so close to my plate, my chin was practically resting in my food. I was starving by that point in the day since I had missed dinner the night before because I made the mistake of saying I was tired, and breakfast that morning was cut short when I made a mess. I was determined to actually eat a full meal. Mackenzie, were you taught to eat like a dog? Don't sit with your face so close to your plate. That's disgusting, Mrs. Warren said, shoveling food into her mouth. I'm sorry. I just don't want to. I'm sorry. I just don't want to make a mess, I answered. Chapter 7, page 70, about halfway down. I'm sorry. I just don't want to make a mess, I answered. Are you talking back to me? Mrs. Warren yelled from her chair, slamming her fist on the table. No, ma'am. I thought I was answering your question, I told her. I didn't ask you a question. I have all the answers, and I'm smarter than you are. If I want you to talk, I'll beat it out of you. Understand? She scolded. I nodded without speaking and continued to eat. My eyes roamed the table, scanning the other children. They were looking down at their food as they ate, and Mrs. Warren snapped her fingers at me, then pointed at my food when I looked at her. I looked down at my food like the other kids as we finished. Once we were all done, the boys, along with Mrs. Warren, leaned back in their chairs as Angela, Gwen, and I cleared the table. Once all the dishes were in the sink, the three of us rejoined the boys in a lineup for chore instructions. Angela, you need to train Mackenzie so she knows what is expected from her daily. Mackenzie, you are going to be helping Angela with the dishes. Gwen, you are going to finish with this morning's laundry. Brian and Alex, the table, and Jimmy and Jack, the floor. Go, Mrs. Warren instructed from her chair at the table. We all scrambled to get to our stations and complete the tasks we were given. I helped Angela with the dishes while Gwen pulled the white tablecloth from breakfast out of the dryer and folded it before putting it away. Brian wiped off the table after Alex sprayed the cleaner. Jimmy swept the floor and Jack mopped. When everything was done, we lined up and awaited further instruction. Jack, get the vacuum and go through the house. Jimmy, clean all the windows and mirrors. Angela, Gwen, and Mackenzie, you three are going to clean the kitchen and do all the laundry. Go to each room and fetch the laundry baskets. Brian and Alex, you two are in charge of the bathrooms. That includes toilets, tubs, and sinks. Let me know when each of you are done, and I will check your work, Mrs. Warren instructed. Angela, Gwen, and I went down the hall and retrieved the dirty laundry from each room, other than mine, since I had only been there for one day. We carried them out to the open laundry closet in the dining area. Gwen put the first load into the washer while Angela and I headed to the kitchen to get started. When Jack had finished the vacuuming, Mrs. Warren had moved from the chair at the table and into her chair in the living room. Okay, Jack, go help your brother Jimmy with the windows and mirrors, Mrs. Warren told him. The washer had stopped, and Angela went over to move the clothes from the washer to the dryer while Gwen and I wiped down the lower cabinet doors. When Jack and Jimmy finished, they put away their cleaning supplies and approached Mrs. Warren. They stood next to each other with their hands behind their backs, looking at the floor. Go help Brian and Alex. I'm sure the two of them are just fooling around in that bathroom and they still have to clean mine, she told them. Jack and Jimmy headed down the hallway to the shared bathroom to assist the two younger boys. As soon as the three of us were finished in the kitchen, the buzzer went off on the dryer, so we put away the cleaning supplies, gathered the rags we used, and headed to the laundry closet. When the four boys had finally finished both bathrooms, they put away the cleaning supplies they had used and again approached Mrs. Warren for further instructions. Great job, boys. Glad to see some of you around here work hard to get things done in a timely manner. The four of you may go back out for yard time, Mrs. Warren told them. The boys headed out the sliding glass door and, and toward the safe space, while Gwen, Angela, and I continued folding laundry and taking it to each room, setting clothes on the bed to the person they belonged to. As soon as the last stack of laundry had been delivered, Mrs. Warren allowed the three of us to join the boys outside. We ran off to the safe space in the corner of the yard where the boys were waiting for us. I hate it here, Alex said, as soon as we were sitting in the same circle we had been in earlier in the day. I'm tired of doing all the house cleaning here, and her bathroom is gross. I can help get us all out of here. I need to make a call to Officer Lee, I told them. I have been to several foster homes since my parents died. I'm done moving. I don't want to move anymore, Angela said. All I have to do is wait a few more years and I'll be out on my own. I don't like it here either, but I don't want to leave Angela. She's my sister. She is my family. We're, we are forever, Gwen said. I plan to help Gwen get out of here when I leave, Angela told us. I don't really care. Jack and I won't be here too much longer. When our parents are ready, we'll go back with them, Jimmy said. Even if they don't want us back, it won't be long before we turn 18 and we're out on our own anyway, Jack said. Can you get us out of here? Brian asked, referring to Alex and himself. If I tell Officer Lee or Janet Russell about how Mrs. Warren treats the children here, everyone can get out. I don't know what to say to only get two of you out, I told him. Please don't say anything, Angela pleaded. Fine. We will all just wait until we get old enough to be out on our own, I said, crossing my arms over my chest. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you that Mrs. Warren won't let you call Officer Lee. And if you blurt it out to your social worker, she will tell the social worker that you are exaggerating, and then she will beat you after the social worker's gone. If you say anything or ask questions to Mrs. Warren, she will beat you until you comply with her rules. She's tougher on the girls than she is on the boys, Angela informed. I'm not scared of her. I will tell them right in front of her. I know how to pretend. I can pretend she is scary and tell Officer Lee I don't feel safe, I told her. You don't understand. She is very manipulative and will be able to convince them that you are lying. I'm serious. You will be punished as soon as they leave. She will not let you call either one of them. If you were a boy, your punishment won't be as severe. Just let it go, Angela pleaded. Oh, yeah, because being isolated in a closet for 3 days and only being fed once a day and having to go to the bathroom in a bucket for those 3 days isn't rough at all, Brian commented. Yes, Brian, the boys get the naughty closet. We have already talked about it. I would rather be isolated in a closet than beaten so badly that I had to throw out my clothes because we couldn't get the blood out, Angela said, raising her eyebrows and pursing her lips. That is not how children should be treated. Auntie May always said that children should be loved and not disciplined, I told them. It just seems like Mrs. Warren is looking for a free maid service with the option of having foster children. She's being paid to house her maids, Jimmy stated. Look, you have only been here one day. When you get beat so badly that you can barely move for a week, then you can get a say in whether or not we should stay or go, Angela told me, hugging Gwen. Angela's comment gave me an idea. Although I didn't know how bad it would be, I was willing to do something in order to help the other kids out of this horrible situation we were thrust into. So, what do we do when we get back inside? I asked. Whatever Mrs. Warren tells us to do, Alex said. Like always, Brian added. Since we did laundry today, we will have to put away our clothes, Gwen informed. That won't take long. She'll probably have us either stand in our bedroom doorways until she is ready for us to come out for dinner, or she will make us clean up our rooms again. That doesn't take long either, Brian said. But it is TV night, so we'll get to watch the television, Alex said. Oh, yeah, for you guys, but the girls are ordered to do the dishes for most of the TV time. It's so unfair, Gwen complained. Let's go. Time to come in. Oh, let's go. Time to come in for the night, Mrs. Warren called us from the patio door. When we had made it inside, we again all lined up by age, oldest first, our hands behind our backs, and our heads down looking at the floor, awaiting instructions. Have you have laundry placed on your beds, except you, Mackenzie. You need to go put it away. Mackenzie, you can help the other girls with their laundry. And Angela, make sure she chose the correct drawer in her dresser and that her clothing is put away neatly, Mrs. Warren ordered. The seven of us headed to our rooms. I joined Angela and Gwen in their room and just waited for them to put away what little bit of clothes they had. Once they had finished, the three of us headed into my room. Which drawer did you choose? Angela asked. I don't have a lot of stuff, so I put it in the small top drawer, I told her, opening the middle of the three top drawers. You can't do that. It doesn't matter how much stuff you have. It depends on your station here. You are new, and therefore you are in a lower station. You have to use the bottom drawer, Angela said, as she pulled my clothes out of the drawer and threw it on the floor. I sat down and started refolding everything as Angela closed the small top drawer and opened the large bottom drawer. Angela and Gwen helped me place what little clothing I had in a drawer that had more space than what I needed. Now what do? I asked after standing up. Now we wait in our doorway, like always. Mrs. Warren will check to make sure everything is in order before we are allowed to go out for dinner, Gwen said, leaving the room. I followed Angela out to the hallway, where the boys were already standing in their doorways. Angela joined Gwen in her doorway, and I stayed in mine. All seven of us stared at the floor and waited. When Mrs. Warren came to check our rooms, I made sure not to say anything so I would be able to eat dinner. Once she decided we were good, we all went out to eat. That time, though, Angela, Gwen, and I headed straight for the kitchen to collect place settings. We brought them in, set the table, and sat down for the meal prayer. Okay, that's it for today. Woo-hoo. My coffee's gone. Anyway, that's it for today. She's trying to figure out a way to get out. Angela just knows how to survive. She doesn't want to leave her friend. Lemur. No. I know. You should see it. Hold on. You should have seen it when we finished this one. Christy Jorgensen was so mad because at the bottom it says, I've come back for you. And that's how the first one ends. That's like the end. And then they had to wait an entire month before I started the next one. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Christy Jorgensen was like, rude. It's like, yes. Oh, what the hell is happening right now? Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, Ari is asleep. Ari is asleep. You can actually see her little face. Oh, yeah. I have to have her. She has to be in bed before I start reading. Only because she grabs at my book, you know? It's crazy. So, yep. That's why I read at night. Plus, I can't do this on TikTok because every time I show a book on TikTok, just holding it in my hand, they hit me with a violation. So here we are. That's why we are here. Anywho, I'm so glad that it's good so far. That's always nice. But we do have oh, okay. Apparently another creator chose to go after 9 other creators, including himself. Oh, this is something I'm not putting on live. Only because this video gets posted. I'm not going to read this out loud. No. Okay, good. Yeah, only because this video is going to get posted, I'm not reading this out loud because this is absolutely, yeah, no. Yes, Rod. Ooh, girl. I don't even know who this other creator is who is. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to listen to that too. Okay. Um, okay. So that is where Camara was. Miranda, I could get you in there. I'll send you a link to it. I think so. Yeah, if you want to, we'll go over to Discord. We'll go into the VC on Discord. I'll do that. Hell yeah. I'll set this to upload and we'll hit Discord. So, if anyone else would like to join us on my Discord, we have a general voice chat that we do. That is over there. So, anyway, woohoo, lemur! So, anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you enjoyed. Tomorrow I will be back about the same time between 7:30 and 8 anyway. Usually whenever she goes to bed, that's when I get on live to read the next half. So Miranda, tomorrow is chapter 8 through 17. So that is what I'm reading tomorrow. Yes. Yes. So chapters 8 through 17 is what I'm reading tomorrow. I appreciate all of you guys and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all tomorrow or on TikTok. Awesome. Bye everybody.